morning.
Good morning, Matthew. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Right, we better get cracking. What are we going to talk about this week?
I think we should mix it up and start with a story this week.
Ooh.
It's a story you told me already, so
Okay.
crack on.
Well, maybe you should test how well you was listening, and you can retell it.
That's horrible.
The story about fleas, yeah?
The story about fleas.
The story about fleas. I saw it on social media, and it was I don't know how true it is, but it's a nice story. If you put fleas in a jar with a lid on, they will only jump as high as the lid that stops them. So before then, fleas can jump much higher than that. But if you put them in a jar, put a lid on, they'll jump, they hit the lid, and they'll learn that that's as high as they can jump. Then after a few days, if you take the lid off, they won't be able to jump out of the jar because they've learnt that that's the limit of how high they can jump. And if they have baby fleas, they also won't be able to jump higher than the lid of the jar. So the lesson is, you got to pop that lid off, and you got to jump beyond your boundaries, and you got to go for it and believe that you can go further than you've ever gone before. Because we're just a couple of fleas, Matt, and we've got to jump out that jar.
I have so many questions about why you have fleas in a jar, and
Well, where do you keep your fleas?
I think it's a really nice intro to today, because this week has been all about overcoming the perceived boundaries and limits of doing this, of trying to start a business. We've made some big decisions, I think, about what comes next for us and our journey through this project and whatever comes next. And I'm very excited to talk about that. But I think we should start by introducing something which is very close to my heart.
Ooh.
And it's all about convergence and divergence.
They are big words.
The theme of the week has been a bit of convergence, and this is when things are coming together. So for us, it's been a coming together of ideas, a narrowing of focus.
I've got an idea, Matt. We had it's just come to me now, unplanned.
Okay.
We've got our feature problem of the week, which has got a nice little catchy ring tune. I wonder if we have a theme of the week. You know, we have like a harp play, and it's a theme of the week.
Okay. You doing the intro for that one.
Theme of the week.
So our theme of the week is convergence. And to explain that, I want to just refer to something which the Design Council developed back in 2003. They were looking for a consensus on the processes that people used behind design development, bringing ideas together and products to fruition. And they came up with the double diamond design process. There's lots of different design processes. I'm only going to talk about this one today because it's the core theme of convergence and divergence. And the idea is, if you imagine two diamond shapes next to each other in sequence, you would have these two lines that come away from each other and they are diverging. And then you have two lines that come back together and they're converging. And then you have another two lines that diverge and another two lines that converge. And the idea is that the process of design is all about exploring and expanding different ideas and then trying to narrow that focus once you've learned what you can.
I like the process, and I'd never come across it before we started working together, and in the company that we worked at, it was encouraged to that sort of way of thinking. And I've always come from engineering, where it was, you must design this thing by this deadline, and it's very, very rigid and routine, and there's no exploration. It's just, you know, you have this problem, you must use this thing, the end. And having a process which allows you to think crazy thoughts and think outside the box and let your ideas run away with you, because you might find a few little hints of things along the way that you can bring back in when you come back in on that convergent part of the diamond. It's like you got permission to not have a perfect idea from the beginning. You've got full permission to go crazy with your ideas, and that is what you're meant to be doing at this point because you're thinking wide. And then after you've got to that point that you've explored enough parallel areas and all these different tangents, you then bring them all together, and that's when you come back in. So I find the double diamond very freeing because you're allowed to not get it perfect first time, which most engineers are in that mindset of must be perfect, can't be wrong, has to be the final solution from the beginning.
Yeah. I'd add, I think the only downsides to this is that it's not taught particularly outside of design. And I think it's a scientific mindset, it's a creative mindset. There's so many people that think they're not creative, but it's because they've not been taught the processes to be creative within. If you're allowed to explore 100 different uses for a paperclip, then immediately you start pulling on this muscle that you might not normally use, but you'll be able to stretch it. And the more you practice that, the more you'll be able to apply it in different areas of life. So this isn't a lesson for designers or engineers. This is a lesson for everyone, that I think you are much more creative than you think you are. And I urge you to have a look. Just Google the double diamond design process. There's so many videos and images and things and inspiration out there. But it's one of our favorite tools, is this idea of divergent and convergent thinking. Right.
We should probably have a little bit of a weekly roundup on all the things that's happened this week. It's been another emotional roller coaster. I find that we're on the same parts of the roller coaster at the same time because we've always got the same worries triggered by the same things. I'm always happy, but celebrating the same things as they come through. And we started off the week, as we start off most weeks, worrying about all the things that could go wrong and why this might not work, and all of the things. And the biggest worry this week was just the very short runway we have because we're self-funded, and how on earth we're gonna make it past the end of the runway with limited time, with small social following, and how on earth that's going to happen.
I think it's the conversation where you're talking about the household expenses. Everyone's got bills, and you're always looking at ways of reducing your bills, and you go, right, I'll change my phone contract. Oh wait, no, that's already as cheap as it can get. And I'll cut my gym membership. Nope, don't have a gym membership. Okay, we'll try and work on the weekly shop. Nope, that's already as cheap as it can get. And you go down the list and you think, no, I'm as lean, I'm as cheap as I can be. There's no outgoings that are beyond my control now. This is the bottom line of how much I have to spend, and hasn't changed our runway.
No, it's so this week, over the weekend, I thought, right, went through that process again, however many passes I've been through it. Let's change energy supplier. I've not looked at that. Went through the comparison websites, found that I could get it a little bit cheaper, saved me about £30 a month, I think it was. Went with that, and then my existing energy supplier beat the deal and managed to knock off an extra £5 or £10, something like that. So I was like, brilliant, this saves £30 a month, over the course of the next 3 months, that's £100. Every little helps, that's amazing. And then did that, felt pretty good about myself, and then like minutes later, our cat came in and was holding a leg up and was walking on 3 legs. And I thought, oh, that looks expensive. Yeah, I didn't tell you this. I saved it for today.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So my wife was like, well, I'm worried he's been hit by a car because, she used to be a veterinary nurse, and she always thinks the worst. And so I took him to the vets, and luckily it was an abscess on his foot, no broken bones, didn't need x-rays. The vet spent a good 3 minutes checking him over and saying, oh no, it's an abscess, he's probably been in the fight and another cat's bit it, and yeah, it's infected and blah blah blah. Cool, all right, I'll give him a quick injection and some painkillers and antibiotics. Awesome, thank you. That's only £100. So I was like, cool, well there goes all those savings, wiped out. Cheers, cat. Back to where we started. He's fine now, he's really happy, so I guess it's worth it. But
you just got to see it as free healthcare for your cat.
yeah, that's it. I'd rather he didn't get in a fight and get an abscess, but hey ho.
So in our pursuit to make some money for the business, we celebrated our first organic sale last week.
We did.
And we've now been making strides to relaunch that product because we'd had the listing as sold out. The risk with relaunching that listing is that we have to make them ourselves. And so if we get 10 orders in, we've now got to spend probably the best part of a whole week making, optimizing, refining things, boxing them up, getting them so that they're tip-top condition for our customers. And so we decided we have to do this a different way. We have to try and work a bit smarter and protect our most valuable resource, which is our time. And using the platform that we're on, so that's Etsy, you can change the processing time for a product, a purchase. And so we extended that to 5 to 6 weeks. And what this does is it gives us a bit of room to work out how many orders we have coming in. And we've set a threshold. So if we hit 10 orders before the end of the month, and I'm a bit scared about saying this on the podcast because it could incentivize people to go and order stuff just to screw us over.
I mean, that is what we want. It is what we want. It's just scary when those orders come through.
If we hit that threshold, we are going to outsource the manufacturing, and there's a bit of legwork involved in that. But we've already started. So I don't know if you want to just talk through some of the ways that we're looking at outsourcing.
Yeah, so we've the unit we make solved the problem of the messy IKEA Kallax storage cubes. Most, I think, parents find the struggle that you get the wicker basket or the fabric box that comes with it, and it's great for hiding the mess away. But because it's such a deep, big basket, anything smaller than a quarter of the size of it just disappears in it, and you just have to dig. It's a digging exercise to find what's at the bottom of the basket, what's at the bottom of the box. So we've made a set of drawers that it's a set of 6 that slides nicely into the unit. They've got a nice finished front to them. We also sell them in an unfinished front, so you can paint them and do your own decorations and those sort of things. It comes flat packed. It's laser cut out of MDF with 3D printed brackets to hold it together. You assemble it with no tools and just need your hands. And once held together, it's a very strong unit, and we're really proud of it. So yeah, we need to look at how to manufacture at scale the laser cut parts and the 3D printed parts. And we've found that the 3D printed parts, we can't do it any cheaper yet than what we're doing. It's quite cheap. However, it's the time is what's costing us. So there's a bit of post-processing. We're getting stringing for the 3D printing fans out there who know what that is, where the nozzle leaves a layer, it leaves a little trail of string behind. And so there's a bit of manual tidy up. So we've been trying to refine that process this week, so there's less post-processing. I have found, I've been talking to a friend who used to work in a factory, a local factory to me, and they know someone who's does a few little jobs on the side using the factory's equipment, and might be
Can't
able
believe
to.
You're outing someone.
Oh, I haven't said any names, so I can't say who it is. Someone who knows someone has access to the factory, who does sort of small jobs and sets up their own tooling for injection molding and metal stamping and things like that. So we've sent an inquiry to say we're interested to see if there's if it works out to do it cheaper that way. So yeah, that's where we are. And then we were talking about this at the beginning of this week, and then out of the blue, we had a sale, which was a family member, which we saw was coming, so that was not so scary. And then the next day, we had a double sale, which was an organic sale. Someone found the product by themselves, and our phones went ka-ching through the app. And then I started to hyperventilate, because, oh my God, now we've got 3 sales. Had to call Matt. Matt didn't answer. I didn't know what to do. Found a brown paper bag, recovered. Yeah.
Very typical of me, not first missing the sale, and then second not receiving a call from someone. I'm terrible at taking calls. So I saw this missed call from Neil, and I was like, oh, it must be about the sale. And I called him back, and he was like, we've sold 2.
Yeah. So that's running.
News.
Yeah, it's good news. It's good news. It's not our this is not our final goal. We'll talk a little bit later on about what the master plan is. This is something we started with because it was easy for us to get out there. It solved a problem for us directly, and we thought, well, if we've got the problem, then a lot of people might have the same problem. So let's share this product with the wider world and see if anyone else, it solves a problem for them, which it has done for a few people. So that's good.
So I think your point on a friend of a friend is, looking to help us any way they can, just really extends this idea that I can't believe how supportive people have been throughout. We're already a few real weeks into this, and the support, people messaging us, personal messaging, like comments, whatever it is, there's so much pouring in, and it is so inspiring that people are so behind us. And so, everyone that's listening to the podcast, I think just a massive thank you, because it's just been incredible. And I think we've had calls now with another 2 people offering support and advice, and trying to fill the gaps in our knowledge, which are expansive. And I just think it's incredible. Your friend that's been giving us advice on the process of going through user research of how we test different ideas and and hypotheses, and then an ex-colleague of ours that's kind of very business focused, giving us ideas on how we map out the future of this, where we should be looking, who we should be talking to. I think it's the fact that people are prepared to commit their own personal time for something that we're embarking out on. It's just really heartwarming, and so I'm very, very grateful every week from the people that have sent us messages and reached out.
Yeah, big time. It's and it's really useful info as well. It's surprising just what you can get from, I think we mentioned in the last podcast, just from people in different industries, how their experience and knowledge is so relevant to what we're doing, and how the parallels in it. And even if it's someone coming from big industry and B2B, business to business sort of type things, it's the core things are still there. How it's important to have the branding, and lists and lists of things that we come away with. Actually, after that call, it was 5 o'clock at night, and he was like, "We need a call. I got to tell you all these things." And I was like, "Right, okay, let's let's jump on." And it was like, "Right, these are all the things we need to worry about that we weren't worried about." And,
I think let's I think you should introduce the lamest thing we have done. So I think you when you spend a lot of time with someone, your brainwaves start to synchronize, and you maybe unlock a little bit of silliness that doesn't normally come out.
Not us. We're dead serious.
So serious. This is the serious business venture. And go on, Neil. What did we do?
I was gonna. Well, maybe you can say what you said to me yesterday that I nearly fell off my chair laughing at.
Absolutely not.
It involved Matt getting undressed. We'll leave it there.
Throwing me under the bus. This is all part of user research. We will talk about that in future. But Neil has just dropped the biggest hook ever. If you weren't interested in listening to future podcasts, you're going to have to find out why we're talking about getting undressed.
Matt's fiance walked in and she said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "It's research! It's research on it! It's research!" Well,
I can't tell anyone to listen to this now.
We did a really lame high five through the camera. I think I forget what we were celebrating. And it was like, right, let's high five it. And we high fived, and we wasn't in time. I think we spent a good couple of minutes trying to get the high five right. And then we did it, and we was happy. And then we both agreed, this is the lamest thing we've done. Let's not talk about it ever again, apart from to the whole world. And then we'll move on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's get it out there and then.
I think that's a bit anticlimactic. It was a bit anticlimactic after the undressing story. Well, you're going to have to find a way to explain that one later on.
Well, I think, you know what? Let's start talking about our next project, and people can maybe read between the lines. Great segue.
So we mentioned earlier that the IKEA Kallax units were not our end goal. It was just something to keep us going. And we want to launch a much bigger, grander, professionally outsourced manufactured product, and we need that launched by the end of November is the date we've given ourselves. We're looking at using a platform like Kickstarter because it means that we don't have to invest lots on something that doesn't have any interest. So we're spending a lot of time doing user research to make sure that what we are developing is what people want. It does solve a problem for people. It's a product that people is going to want and use and cherish and all those good things. And I don't know. Do you think we should give details of what it is, or do you think that's giving away too much?
Oh, we've got to lead people on a little bit. You know, I think the first point is that earlier in the week we were talking about other ways that we could potentially bring some money into the business, and when you're looking at the advice from leaders, serial entrepreneurs, there's different ways that they say that you can start a business and start generating revenue. And one of them includes reselling or using contract manufacture, which is where you buy something that's kind of off the shelf and you maybe work with a supplier to, maybe they do a different color or they can put your logo on it, but you haven't done the design of the product. You're taking something and you're selling it yourself. And we thought maybe there is something in the t-shirt printing, in the taking a household tool, something that has a purpose that someone will still use, and we can sell it as part of our brand. And so we spent a bit of time looking into this, and I don't think we've binned it. I think we've shelved it because we decided that this new, incredibly ambitious goal of launching something on a pre-order type platform like Kickstarter it's our laser focus. It needs to be the thing that we focus on above all else. And so maybe we'll get to a point where we're selling merch or toolkits or whatever it is. We
sort of agreed that whatever we did, it must align with our values of not creating junk, not creating something that someone's going to use or wear once and end up in the bin. We'll do it so that it's something that people get value out of. So even if it's a t-shirt, if it's a novelty t-shirt, then people are less likely to use it. But if it's something that sends a message about something they believe in, such as if they believe in, repairing and getting more life out of their things, and that's who I am now, I'm happy to wear that on a shirt, then that's something that someone's more likely to cherish and get a lot of use out of, rather than something that just says, the catchy slogan that's relevant at the time. So we've not binned it. We know to make it worthwhile and for us to be happy with it, we want to make sure the design is good enough to put our name to. So it's not our laser focus. Our laser focus must be this one project. So it's a 20% project, I think. And those who aren't familiar with the 20% project, it's 20% of your time during the week should be something that you just a task that you enjoy that adds value to the overall mission. So maybe if we've had a heavy admin day and we just want to do something a little bit more fun or a bit more creative, we'll spend 20% of the day doing that to just sort of practice exercising those muscles, and that's where it will sit. But it's not going to be the laser focus for what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can talk around the idea a little bit, describe some of the elements of it, but I'm keen not to give it all away until we've got a bit further, because it's more fun to talk about the process when we're a little bit more into it. Otherwise, we run the risk of backtracking. So,
I mean, it's also fair to say we don't actually have the product idea. We're narrowing down what the problem is that we're solving with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to say that we're focusing on storage and organization around the home. That's the thing that we think a lot of people struggle with. And we've sent some surveys out asking people different areas of where they are in their house and items they're using, and even outside the house with traveling in the car, and where there's general themes of a lot of people have this sort of problem. And we sent the survey out, and we got a lot of really useful information coming in. We did link it in last week's podcast, so you can still fill it out if you'd like to. So thanks to those also. I know there's a few listeners who've completed it, so thank you for that. It's optional to put your details in, so it can be completely anonymous. So that's fine. And yeah, from that, we've now on the point of narrowing down what problem we're going to focus on. So one of the problems does involve clothes and what you do with clothes and storage. Hence the discussion of Matt getting undressed and and the research around that. And I think next week we're heading into, even as early as this afternoon, we've got some calls scheduled with people where we are going to go and talk to people directly. We've got a script, we've got some questions we want to hit, and from those discussions we know that we get a lot of gold nuggets that you won't get from a survey, because you can probe into just how someone thinks about something, or someone might give a bit of an answer and then change it and say, oh no, actually, and you can say, well, what do you mean by that? And you can really dig down into where the core of the problem lies and how we can address that with people, because it might be that something underlying that people don't even realize is the problem, that is the main cause of the problem. And it's been quite exciting this week. I think towards the end of the week, we've had a really a few exciting days, and we've worked quite a few long hours just to sort of get this point ready, because we know that we're on the tip of really heading into the start of the double diamond. We're like, right, this is the problem at the beginning of the diamond. Now we've got to start thinking of all the ways that we could solve this problem for people.
There's one part that you mentioned there that I just want to dig on for a second, which is the value of talking to people. And there was a survey response where I got a message from this person, and they said, I don't think I've been very useful. I'm not your target market for this problem that you're looking for answers on. And I said, well, even if you're not, that's valuable insight, because we can now start to understand the types of people that this might not be a problem for, as well as the types of people that it is. But I actually had a phone call with him to catch up anyway. And I dug on why he didn't think he was a valuable customer. And we uncovered some insights about his habits that weren't recorded in the survey, just by asking a few probing questions and sitting back and letting him do the talking. And it's that difference between, yes, you can collect a lot of data from a survey and it can be quite quantitative, but the quality of that conversation can be so much more insightful sometimes. And there's a real difficult balance in where you invest your time and making sure that you're asking questions that give the product, the development, the answers that you're looking for. Because otherwise you can be sent off in all these different directions. So I think a lot of our time this week has been discussing what the right questions are. And we were interviewing each other to practice the questions, the technique, the flow, the way we were going to get to answers that we wanted to. We were doing it to understand what gaps we were leaving in the questioning, so that we made sure that we had this kind of script that we follow. And so that's the bottom line of why we were both talking about getting undressed, not just me, was all to do with practicing those interview skills.
Yep.
I think the last point that I'm really happy with is we try and step out of our comfort zone whenever we're getting stuck into a process. And we took a minute this week just to kind of step out. We've got very focused in doing this user analysis and working out what the questions were and working out what the next steps are. And we took a minute to just pause and just talk to each other as human beings, friends, rather than co-founders or colleagues, and check that we're happy with the direction that we're going, and that we're happy with the levels of stress we're under, and that we're not going to get to January and think, oh, I really regret the last 3 months. I wish I'd been doing something else, or I wish I'd done it a different way. And I think it's just such a valuable moment to have those conversations. It doesn't take long, but I think I'd advocate anyone in any walk of life to try and step out from the, social norms of just getting on, keep your head down. Just take a minute to have a real conversation.
It really useful, because we're disagreeing more and more each week. But it's,
that's true.
And it's great, because it means that we're challenging each other. And if we've got a difference of opinion, and we're both of the mindset that we're both happy to be convinced otherwise, and we're not set in our ways. Which I really like about how we work together, because you could challenge me and I could challenge you, and we know that we'll both think objectively and think, actually, no, maybe it could be that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
when we've had a few of those this week on a few different points, we talk about profit margins and we spoke about direction and where to narrow down on user surveys, and we've had different disagreements along the way. So when we say, right, let's say, are we happy with what we're doing? Are you going to look back in 3 months and say that this was the wrong thing? And it's nice because you realize the reason we're doing this is because we both agreed it right at the beginning. We both want to do it with each other. The reason we disagree is because we care so passionately about the direction and the goal that we set out to achieve. And it's a nice reminder that we're not against each other. We're together on this, and we both have these opinions because we both want it to work. And another nice exercise is to try and look back in advance and see what you would have been unhappy with, what you would have changed already. We'd say, okay, let's pretend we're in January, we're looking back, what would we criticize and say we would have done differently now so that we can make sure that we do it differently? So I think the biggest thing we come back with is how we spend our time and what we focus on, because that's our biggest limiting factor. And it just helps to say, we can, how to keep that laser focus on what the main goal is and what we ditch. So we spoke about t-shirts, we spoke about manufacturing parts, and we've said, it's not laser focus. That doesn't help us get to that end goal. So that's why we've spoke about it, but not taken it any further. Why we, shelved the other ideas, why we shelved the closed clip and those sorts of things, is because it needs to be laser focused, because time's our biggest limiting factor.
It's a terrifying way of trying to streamline your thoughts and brain power when you're constantly thinking, okay, is this the thing that I should be thinking about? You get into this kind of like hyper-focused state of, no, I can't do that thing. I physically don't have the time. And I think you really do have to almost think too much of yourself, to overvalue your time, to think, I just don't have time to do that thing.
So, Matt, it's the time for you to practice your intro skills on Problem of the Week.
Problem of the week.
So, in this segment, we discuss a useless problem, which everyone has, and we just talk briefly around how we would design a way out of it. And this week, we focused on the pain of emptying a clean dishwasher.
It's a brilliant problem. I love it because it is rife with entitlement. It means you already have a dishwasher, which is a solution to an existing problem.
Yeah.
And it's arguably so minor, but at the same time touches so many people's lives. And there is a genuine side to this problem. There's a lot of access and extraneous parts of this that are very real and genuine. But we like to focus on the silly side. Yeah. So we try and start divergently thinking about everything that could possibly be different about this process, just to throw fun ideas out there to break the mold, to get us thinking about anything that could be different. So, first, do you want to just go on a little rant about how much you hate emptying the dishwasher?
Sure.
Because as someone that doesn't have a dishwasher, this is something that doesn't bother me very much.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you. It's the core of the problem is you can load in, I guess, what would you call it? In
increments.
Thank you. That's the word. The core of the problem is you can load in increments. So you got a dirty cup, dirty plate. You put that single thing in, and that's fine. It's gone, and it's out of the site, and it's in the machine that's going to wonderfully clean it for you, which I'm grateful for every day. The problem is you then put it on, and then you've got to do a bulk unload. You've got to bulk pack it all away, and there is nothing worse than smugly marching into the kitchen with your empty cup and think, I'm just going to chuck that in the dishwasher, and you open the door and it's clean, and you're like, oh, what was going to be a 5-second task is now going to take me 10 minutes to pack all these things away around the kitchen. So that's why it's a problem. That's the core of the problem. It's hidden. You can't see that it's clean. immediately it fools you. You think it's your friend, and then you open the door and you're very happy that it's cleaned it all for you because it saves you doing it with manually. But at the same time, you're left with this big problem, having to pack it all away before you can just put your empty thing in there.
So we've thought about some possible solutions to this. Mm-hmm. My favourite by a mile is cutting out the middleman. And if you really go to the root of the problem is that we're dirtying things in the first place.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of plates. And I'm not going to take the credit for this. This was 100% Neil's idea. I think we named it together. It was... You remember?
No, I can't remember what it was.
Facetube.
Yeah, that was it.
Do you want to talk us through the background to this idea?
Well, basically, you get your utilities piped into your house. So you have a gas supply, or you might have a gas supply. You have electricity supply, which is piped, but there's a connection. There's a water supply. You get water, wastewater, and that taken away. Why not a food tube into the house? So I'm sure you could have a few core ingredients that are just piped in, and you just I feel I'm one of those people who I do enjoy some types of food, but also it is just a bit of a chore. If I could just be full and not have to go through the whole eating process, I promise I'm not a robot. That would be much more convenient. If you don't have to worry about what you're going to make, you don't have to worry about how it's going to taste. You just, I'm full. Don't have to worry about that extra thing that's going to take a half an hour, 3 times a day, or however frequently you eat.
So we're talking about just a system where you've got a tube that goes from your face to a pipe. You just plug in, fill up, unplug.
No washing up, no having to cook. No, it's so much easier. I mean, even a step further, you could just have an adapter on your stomach. Just pipe it in. You don't even, it doesn't matter about whether it's cold, whether it's warm, what the texture is, what it tastes like. Just fill it up, just like filling up your car with fuel. Just pipe it in, done. There's no plates. There's nothing. It just goes in there, and you don't have to worry about the whole. Oh, I don't like the flavour. It's too crunchy. It's too soggy. It doesn't matter. That's all bypass. That's gone. So much easier. I mean, that is a little bit extreme. And since we had this conversation, there is a much better solution, which I love so much.
I'm not convinced, but tell it anyway.
It's people do it. This is real. This is what people do. The entrepreneurs of the world, the successful ones who don't have time to empty their dishwasher, do this. You get a second dishwasher, and that becomes your storage for all of your plates and your cups and your crockery and cutlery. So then you don't even need to have cupboards in your house. You have a clean one and you have a dirty one. So you need a plate, you take out the clean one, you use it, you put it in the dirty one. And then when everything's moved from the clean one to the dirty one, you just wash the dirty one, and then it's just reversed, and then just go back the other way. It's so convenient. You cut out cupboards. You cut out the pain of having to bulk unload. It's a genius idea. You do obviously need to have a second dishwasher. So arguably, there's some issues there with cost and efficiency and all of those things. But I think I was really gutted that I didn't think of it myself. It's such a good idea. I think
it works on a regular throughput basis. If there's only 2 of you in the house, the same kind of loads are going through, so it's cyclical, it works. But as soon as you've got people over for dinner, you've got this influx of load, you're going to overfill, so you now don't have space in the dishwasher that you were already filling, and you're going to have to empty the other one. I think a nicer solution, which just builds on that, is cupboards that you can put dirty plates in.
Oh, but that's what a dishwasher is, right? The second dishwasher is a cupboard that you put dirty plates in.
Yeah, but if it was a suite of cupboards, then everything is always cleaned.
What, like a car wash for cupboards? They just live in the car wash. Yeah?
I like that.
All right, agree.
Ultra dishwasher.
I mean, you said, when you have people over, it's another problem. Just don't have people over. Just simple, regular,
Or you all plug into the same face tube.
We should copyright this before someone steals it. Such a good idea. Okay,
So on
Matt.
that note,
Yes.
yeah,
Let's wrap it up.
let's call it a day.
Good.
It's been another great week. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Invention Junkies out.
Bye.